12 here on The Big Debate. Hope you're all having a lovely afternoon so far. Casser Alom here on the BBC Asian Network. Right, so until the end of the programme, until 12:30, when Priya's going to take over with the Asian Network reports, we're going to be talking a little bit about football, and we're going to be talking a little bit about films. In particular, representation of Asians in sport. Did you Bend It Like Beckham? If you did, well, you may like Singh number 7. It's a film being made in Leicester about a British Asian trying to overcome all sorts of cultural barriers to make it as a footballer. My next guests have put in lots of hard work to make this happen, and it does sound fantastic. Joshua Odigie, the producer, and also Pardeep Chehra, who plays the lead role. And also, you yourself can get in touch, 03459 440 445, or you can always text 81869. Joshua, Pardeep, thank you so much for coming onto the programme. Pardeep, we'll come to you first of all. I mean, where did the idea come from?
So actually, it came to me a few years ago, and I just noticed that there's always been a lack of Asians in football, and I myself, when I was younger, tried to make it in football, and I realised that I was just getting nowhere fast. So the idea started maybe when I was like 16 or 17 years old. I always thought someone would write the film, and that maybe I could audition for it, because I was always a passionate actor.
Yeah.
But then nobody ever made it. And then it got to a point, November 2017, where I thought, you know what, I'm going to write this film. And that was it.
How long did that take you to write it?
It took me just over 3 months.
And did you use your own personal experience in that?
Yes, there'll be elements of my actual life that have been put into Singh number 7.
Amazing, amazing. Right, I want to talk a little bit more about the film in a moment, but before we go that, I want to know, so what sort of level were you playing?
Me, very much grassroots, like right at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go to Joshua here on this. So where did you get involved on this?
Well, I mean, it's actually quite a funny story. Pardeep and I actually met while, just working as consultants in retail. And I think obviously being, working on a daily basis and just trying to, get through the workday, and we started talking about our personal lives and I guess our passions and what really drove us to, to do what we wanted to do on a daily basis. What was our real passion? And we instantly sent it on film, and we instantly sent it on the fact that, coincidentally, we both happened to have that experience in the film industry. Pardeep being a long-time aspiring actor, and me being a producer and marketing manager at a film company. So we both just, it just instantly had that connection. But when Pardeep started to instantly talk about Singh number 7, I think the story just resonated with us instantly. We just both realized that it was an issue that was still prevalent in the modern game, in such a sport that's so globally synonymous as football. We wanted to basically tell this story because we believed it had such a cultural impact, and we believed it was something that people, especially British Asians, would resonate with, because it's an issue that's still going on today, and it's an issue that we wanted to address creatively and using our own experiences and our own backgrounds.
Absolutely. I mean, I refuse to believe that there are not Asians out there who are good enough to play at the highest level. I mean, I myself have always wondered this as well, but I wonder, why are some of the reasons why the people don't make it? What did you find, Pardeep, yourself?
I mean, there's not one reason, there's many reasons, like you're saying, and one of the reasons is definitely family, but that one's changing now. I mean, back in the day, families, they wouldn't like the idea of their kids wanting to be footballers because it's not a realistic dream. So they never quite had the backing of the family. Things are different now. There's a lot more families who are taking their kids to football and who are believing in it now. But that's just one of the reasons. There's many reasons. I mean, we've got institutionalized racism, and there's many barriers that are actually in the way.
Like what barriers?
I mean, a lot of them are really institutionalized, if you think about it. I think there's also that, stereotypical view that, academy coaches and club structures have, in the sense that when you see an Asian footballer, there's that sense to think that they're not either just strong enough or built for the sport. And you think that, you know, in a way, this was something that a lot of racial minorities experience in some other areas, in some other forms of sport. And to believe that is the stereotypical view that these club structures have is sort of outdated.
Yeah.
What we want to do is, in a way, remove that stigma from the structures that are in clubs, because a lot of them believe that Asian footballers are some of them are talented, but they might just not have the drive to see it through. And obviously we are more than aware that that's not true. There are a lot of really talented British Asian footballers out there, hoping for a chance, hoping for a shot at first team football, and hoping for a shot at the highest level. And we just believe that if that stigma is removed and that stereotypical view of Asians maybe being more keen to, much more interested in playing other sports, like, for example, cricket, it's something, what we want to do is remove that cultural bias, because we believe that, it's far time that was no longer the case.
Yeah. So, Pardeep, I want to come to you on this. You both talked a little bit about, institutional obstacles. What are they?
Well, one of the things that we noticed is when we spoke to the Kick It Out organization and they told us about things that they've come across, there'd be a trial, for example, at, say, a big team. There would be maybe one Asian player there, and straight away, just by reading his name, he's treated differently because he's Asian. And they don't want to take the risk of...
Differently in what way?
Differently because he's different. He's
no, but I mean, like, how would... Sorry, I'm just trying to, get actual, examples here. Treated differently how? Like, what would be different about the way he is treated to someone else?
So he wouldn't have been given a fair shot compared to the others, just because of what is, and they don't want... Some teams, I understand, they don't want to take the risk of having an Asian on the pitch knowing that he will be racially abused at some point. They just don't want to take that risk.
Any others? Any other obstacles that you've come across or you've tried to put out in the film?
Yeah, any other obstacles that I can think of, I would say those are definitely the two main ones. Definitely family and definitely the institutionalized racism. Another one, actually, is that we need to take a bit of responsibility, because the talented Asians that I've come across, a lot of them have had a bit of an attitude problem. And because they get a little bit arrogant knowing that they're better than the average Joe kind of thing. And no team's going to want to have a player like that who has an attitude problem, around.
Lots of players have attitude problems, don't they?
Oh, it's true. It's very true, they do. But, when you're trying to make it in football, especially us as Asians, there's hardly any of us there. You know what I mean? Like, any reason for them not to have us there, that's a big one. An attitude problem is something that most teams wouldn't really put up with.
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from. I really do. But I'm just struggling. If you're a football club and you see a guy who's better than anybody else on the pitch, why wouldn't you choose them? What are some of the reasons why that would be the case?
That's the issue, is that they're not getting to those. Most of these talented Asian footballers are not getting the chance to even be in front of the coaches that could take them forward. I think is the ultimate, root cause of this, because at the end of the day, if you see a really, really talented footballer, it doesn't matter what race he is, you're being much more inclined to give him a shot and give him a fair shake. But what is I think the issue here is that these really talented British Asian footballers are not even getting to that stage. Just like Pardeep mentioned, Pardeep pretty much, was around the grassroots system, the entirety of his, in the entirety of his formative years. And that's the case. He was stuck in the grassroots system. And if he had that ability or that opportunity to be in front of a scout or an academy coach, to put himself forward and show, and this is hypothetical here, of course, just as, to show his exemplary skill, I think there will be that inclination to take that forward. But because there are so many barriers to even reaching that stage, a lot of British Asian footballers found themselves, still in the grassroots, still in Sunday, basically semi-professional Sunday leagues, and even that at best. And I think it's a case of maybe the scouting system or the youth coaching system taking that chance on and going deeper, further in to the grassroots system, so they can discover young British Asian talent, or aspiring young British Asian footballers, even for them that might be too much of a step down. And maybe the problem is that they see that as too much of a step down of going to a Sunday league and seeing a few British Asian footballers playing on the field. But that is how some of the best talents in the world has been discovered, and we genuinely believe that British Asians are among that statistic. They are in that demographic, and they should be giving a fair share.
Interesting. We've actually had people starting to get in touch on this, and I would encourage more people to share your stories. And I don't just want, stories. As much as I want everybody to get involved, I'd also like to hear what it's like for young kids now. Is it still the same, or are things changing? This WhatsApp here on 07920500200 said, I had trials for a championship team and a League One team over 20 years ago. I was at both for over a year. I was openly told by the father of my friend that the adult coaches were judging me on my colour and their perception of what an Asian was. I was overlooked, and lesser players were pushed ahead of me. I'm really sorry to hear that, and unfortunately I'm sure there's lots of people who have been in that situation as well. Thank you very much for sharing your comments there. Is that still the case now? If you are, I know we've talked about this before, and there are plenty of parents who are taking their kids, their 8-year-olds, their 10-year-olds to clubs. Is that the case now? Let me know your thoughts. 03459440445. So, pardon me, tell us a little bit about the film then. Obviously, there's going to be lots of similarities to Bend It Like Beckham. At the back of your mind, was the success of Bend It Like Beckham there for you when you were coming up with this?
When I was coming up with this, no, because I can understand how people are going to compare it to Bend It Like Beckham. That was very much a light-hearted family comedy movie, and it did touch on the subject a little bit. There were some scenes where it did get, very real. But with Singh number 7, it's going to be a very real, gritty movie that's just going to tell it exactly as it is. It's going to be a completely different genre to Bend It Like Beckham.
And Joshua, what were your thoughts on that?
I think for us, obviously, Bend It Like Beckham is a great benchmark. It sets the tone that, we can make a culturally significant film about a British Asian player. But what Singh number 7 tries to do is that it takes a lot more of a dramatic format, in the sense that obviously the action on the pitch is going to be really exciting. We're going to try and keep it as realistic as possible. Luckily, we have a starring a leading man who can actually play the sport, who is obviously physically at his peak and can play the sport quite professionally. But what we also wanted to do was give the film a very, very dramatic feel, a very dramatic edge, and that is what you get with Singh number 7. It tells the story as you would see it, almost in a documentary or reality TV series. It gives you that almost point of view connection to this character, Jasdeep, because you want to I guess you not only want to root for him, but you almost feel a connection with his life. He's a young man, he's getting up there in terms of wanting to break into the highest level of the sport, and he's at a crossroads, if you will, as following the wishes of his parents as to settling down, getting a job, and getting married, and moving on, or focusing on a dream that he has been passionate about for all his life, and believing that his talent will get him through. And of course, he does get hit with reality checks several times throughout the object of this throughout the course of this film. Obviously, without giving too much away, but he does get hit with pitfalls, and a lot of that causes him to question what he stands for as a player and what he stands for as an individual. And we tried to juxtaposition in between that, that dramatic element, and of course the action on the field as well, because all the Singh numbers, this character does a lot of his talking on the pitch.
Why was it important? You both said hard-hitting a number of times, and actually you've also said gritty quite a few times as well. Why was it important for the pair of you to make this film, in your own words, hard-hitting and gritty? What's the purpose of that?
I believe people need to know the reality of it, and once we did our research, and especially when we spoke to Anwar Uddin, ex-professional who is now at the Kick Out organisation, he told us what he went through and what other British Asians are going through, and it is some serious stuff.
Yeah.
So we believe to make it as realistic as possible, it has to be hard-hitting.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're absolutely right. We could have told a lighthearted comedic story, and it would have been fantastic. But I think what we wanted to do was add a sense of realism to the story. And yes, it is. You know, we're not saying the film is absolutely visceral. That it's just in your face. It does. You know, it does show you the human side of being an aspiring footballer. As a, you know, in general, you know, you do need support from your family. You do need them to be. You do need the right people by your side. You need the right friends, the right family, the right the right loved ones. And you know, Jazz Steve does have the benefit of that. He does have people who believe in him in this story, and you do get to see that.
Yeah, and you know, I've been on your social media as well, Pardeep, and you know, you've got the trailer pinned to it there, and you know, in that there is a little bit of racism, there is a little bit of, you know, Jazz Steve's being pushed over, but then also, you know, you see him on the pitch as well. It's almost like there is going to be a definite sort of link between British Asian lads right now, in particular, who are playing football, and then what they're going through on screen, where that was perhaps not the case with Bender like Beckham, where it's a little bit more dreamlike. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could say that. I mean, just like you said, we wanted to give people that something they'd see on screen and they'd instantly have that connection with, like, oh wow, I play football every Sunday, and I do see that. I do see things like that. I do see things get heated up. I do see things being set off the cuff, and we wanted to do that, you know. And I think, yeah, Bender like Beckham, a fantastic story, but what we wanted to do was give people something that, you know, not only would they resonate with, but they'd recognize as well.
So, Pardeep, tell me a little bit about your family, because they were quite supportive of you, weren't they? But is that something that you feel needs to be happening more in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially with my acting, they were very supportive. They just said, if this is something you want to do, then you know, you can go for it, kind of thing. I always had their support, and I think that is a very important thing.
Do you think parents are more supportive now for their children to go, let's say, pursue a career in football, or maybe one of the effects of this film will be that they do that?
Yeah, I believe things, especially from 20 or 30 years ago, things have definitely changed. There is a lot more Asians, you know, being taken to football at a younger age by their parents and stuff like that, and this movie will definitely have an effect and hopefully speed things along and to help change things.
Joshua, so what are you ultimately hoping to achieve out of this?
I think what we're hoping to do, at least at the very basic level, is to at least just stir up a conversation. We want people to have these conversations, and we want people to know that, you know, this issue is out there. This issue is, you know, racism in football obviously is, we know it's still in the modern game, even just as recently as, you know, the England team playing in Montenegro experiencing, racial abuse. And this is not, and what we're trying to emphasize, that it does go across various levels. It's not just, you know, black British players, it's British Asian players, you know, and we want to show people that racism transcends across so many levels, and we want to change that, and we want people to start having that conversation, even at the very least. And that's what we really want to do. We want to tell a great story, which we believe we've put together a great story, but we want people to start having these conversations and understanding the core reasoning and the core biases that people still have, and how we can get past that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Just one more really question, which is, you know, tell us a little bit more then about when is the film going to come out, how much more work is left on it?
Well, at the moment, I think the reason we created the concept trailer was to obviously pretty much put together a visual pitch for the movie to obviously to potential distributors and studios, and we've, you know, we're hoping to garner as much feedback as we can. I mean, the timeline at the moment is, you know, within a year or two, especially, you know, given that, you know, we do have some scenes in there where we'd require some iconic stadiums without giving anything away. And you know, we know that obviously there will be time scales and schedules in place that we need to meet. So we are, you know, we're hoping that within the next year we can put this film together.
Well, best of luck with all of that, Pardeep Chopra, and also Joshua Odigi as well, trying to pitch Singh #7 together. That's it for today's program. Thanks for getting in touch. Really enjoyed hearing